topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Experts, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Starting next week, you'll be able to watch our shows on TikTok. Of all days to announce this, the day that Congress has voted that TikTok must be sold to an American company, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Senate takes that up. But starting next week, we are going to have a different show on every day on TikTok because you've asked for it. Hey, this first show that we're doing today is without a doubt the easiest show. In fact, I wouldn't even let anybody else do this but him. He's so good at this. He's such a pro at this. We're talking about tax relief today. Let me welcome you to our expert attorney, Stephen Moskowitz.
Thanks very much, Steve-O.
Hey, I didn't recognize you with no tie.
I just wanted to come on and see if you would.
Okay. Hey, listen,
in honor
Stephen,
of your TikTok, I thought I'd be less formal today.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe that? The day that we made a decision to put all of our shows on there, the ruling comes out. I don't think it's going to affect us at all. I think they're going to pass it, and there'll probably be a line of people wanting to buy it.
Excellent. Well, I hope so too. And
so, hey, let's get started. I had someone ask me a question the other day when they saw the promotion of your show coming up, and his question was, what do you do if you just don't have the money to pay the IRS?
There's a lot of good solutions, but you don't go to either extreme. For example, just because the IRS sends you a bill doesn't mean it's right. Last week, I talked to a brand new client. The IRS sent him a six-figure bill. And the only thing he wanted me to do was just get him a monthly payment plan because he didn't have six figures to write a check. But the first thing we do is, do you really owe it or not? Guess what, Steve-O?
He didn't owe it.
He didn't owe a penny. So I said, well, I'm not going to ask the IRS to let you pay this in monthly installments. Instead, I'm going to call the IRS and say, hi, guys, my client doesn't owe the money. Here's why. Please correct your records. Bring it down to zero. So that's lesson number one. A lot of times the IRS sends bills, they're just wrong. And a lot of people just pay them. So you shouldn't do that. The other extreme is people that are deer in the headlights and they stick their head in the sand. Now, the IRS hired all these new IRS agents and they're coming after people. And the bottom line is you don't want to do that either because you don't want one of these new agents coming to your house, your business, or your customers, clients, patients, and saying, don't pay you, pay them. That can ruin you. So what we do is we say to clients, look, you have all kinds of rights. You have all kinds of options. And what we do is when we talk to a client, we explain it to the client. And then we go ahead and we say, we just want to do everything for you so you don't have to talk to the government, deal with them, have anything to do with them, and do the whole job. And there's so many good options. And a lot of these things are intertwined. For example, a lot of people don't file tax returns. And maybe you didn't file last year, or the year before that, or 5 years, or 10 years, or more. The number one reason people don't file returns is just because they don't have the money. No problem. If that's the case, we'll contact the IRS for you, and we want to get you a great deal. And another reason is people don't have their records. If that happens, we get all the records the IRS has on you. And if you live in a state that has a state tax, we ask them for the records as well. And the bottom line is we can go into the IRS in all 50 states. We're licensed for that and help people. And what we'd like to say is, here's what we ask. Give us your tax problems, and we want to give you back a normal life. People actually change their lives. I can tell you horror stories. I've had 2 people that committed suicide over this.
Oh my gosh.
And my first meeting of the client was, both of them were men that killed themselves. When the wife contacted me and said that their husbands had committed suicide, could I do something to help? Both cases would have been easy to fix. Another real heartbreaker, was a guy very much loved his wife and his kid, but he wanted to fall on his sword for the family. They divorced because of the taxes. And then the biological father gave up the son for adoption. And then he said, okay, he was ready to face the world alone. And, the wife talked to him about it quite a bit, but eventually she remarried. Somebody else adopted the kid. The guy gave his life for this. When I finally met the client, guess what? Another one, didn't know a penny.
Oh, no.
So it's like he threw his whole life away. I can't imagine giving up a kid and a spouse and all that. But he did, and all for naught. He didn't even know anything. So the bottom line is, back when I started to practice so many years ago, I was also a professor in law school at night. And I tell the new lawyers, the law is not a bunch of dusty old law books that you read some cases from England. The law is alive. It lives, it breathes, it laughs, it cries, it screams. You're dealing with people's lives here. And, money and taxes are very important. A very important aspect of life is money. And that's what taxes are all about. The government is taking money from you. And you look at wealthy people, and wealthy people don't pay a penny more than they have to. And they fight everything. Well, what we do is say, look, you don't have to be Fortune 500. You don't have to be super wealthy. We go in and you have all kinds of benefits. And people don't realize that. In every year, I had another case where a nice gentleman, every traditional tax season, he hadn't filed for years. He got so physically sick that he'd have to be hospitalized because, people are talking about taxes and you see things on TV and radio and friends are saying, oh, how'd you do this year? And they're talking about their taxes. He got so upset that his whole family didn't file. And the thing is, these problems are fixable. It's like with a medical doctor and he sees people suffering and dying. There's a lot of things that are really fixable, especially when you get them early. And I could take up your whole show every day telling you, well, you could do this and this and this and this and this. But being a tax attorney is kind of like being a physician, where the physician doesn't say, I'm going to tell you the cure for all diseases, because that would take them forever. And say, well, look, let's see what's bothering you. What do you have? And then fix it. And, a lot of times it only takes a little bit of medicine. And, a lot of people, they worry themselves sick, all kinds of horrible things are going to happen to them. And a lot of times it's an easy fix. So the bottom line is we talk to people, we're practical, and as I told you, before I was a tax attorney and CPA, I was a New York City taxi cab driver. I'm a simple guy. I run our law firm. I know what it is to run a business. Running a business is like nurturing a child. It's something to the business owner lives and breathes, and what you have to do. And there are just so many benefits in the tax law for those people. And we want to talk to you about, especially now when it's in the traditional tax filing time. So, this is when people are thinking about taxes the most. And there's an awful lot of people that don't file, and they do what I call the crazies, where with the crazies, they do all kinds of things to try to avoid the taxes, when just letting us deal with it for them head on would be so much simpler and such a better result. And again, what we do is we start off, we have an attorney-client privilege consultation. You can tell us anything. By law, it's a secret. So if you axe murdered your next door neighbor and you tell us that, by law, we have to keep that a secret, whether we take the case or not, whether you hire us or not. So the bottom line is, we just do old-fashioned lawyering where we just talk to you, and then we do something else old-fashioned. We listen to you, and then we go ahead.
It's amazing, Stephen, how those unopened envelopes with those 3 letters on it get shoved into a drawer, and they think they're going to go away. They don't go away, do they?
That's really true. Over the years, I've had so many clients that would literally bring in a big stack of envelopes and say they couldn't bear to open it. I said, well, what if there's a refund check in there? What do you mean you can't open it?
Yeah, right.
And the other thing too is not opening it. It's kind of like a medical problem. If God forbid you have a little spot of cancer, if the doctor gets it right at the beginning, it can be relatively minor to fix it. But if you don't, it just grows and grows until it's some horrible treatment he has to do to it. Maybe it kills you, and it doesn't have to be. So the bottom line is, sure, we can open the envelopes for you, but this is not something to fear. It's something that can be taken care of, just like a medical problem that has all kinds of solutions.
I think what people don't realize is you have so many different ways to accomplish the goals with the IRS. Maybe one thing might not fit what they're going through, but something, you just have so many different ways that you can help somebody.
That's right. And that's what talking to you is all about. It's not a one size fits all. One size fits nobody.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it. If you have a guy that's 6'8" and 300 pounds, and you have somebody else that's 5'2" and 100 pounds, the same garment is not going to fit them. So that's why there's different garments. And also different things work for different people and what their needs are. We actually talk to them, what are their needs, what's going on. And the bottom line is it's just old-fashioned talking and listening. But then, yes, we've dedicated our lives to the tax law, and there are a lot of good explanations here.
That is so sad, the stories you've just told us, because I'm sure there's so many people out there going, I've come to the end of the road. What am I going to do? I don't have money to pay my taxes. I haven't filed in 4 years. They're going to put me in jail. But they never said
right. It's basically somebody pushed them off a boat dock, and now they're underwater and they can't swim and they're drowning.
Yes.
Oh my God, they're underwater. They're going to die. That's what they feel like.
And look what happens to some of these people who don't at least explore the possibilities they have. I mean, you just talked about 2 people committing suicide.
I had 2 of those, and one of them, it was, I won't go into the gory details, but it was just horrific. It's kind of like drowning in 2 feet of water because you didn't realize it was only 2. You just could have gotten up and saved yourself, but you drowned.
Yeah,
and
that's a
I
good
see that
analogy.
all the time. And for every case, some horror like that, there are countless divorces and businesses lost and lives ruined and people just miserable over something that's totally fixable.
Steve, I'm hearing a lot of ads out there now, and it's just these ads just sound too good to be true. And I know you're going to be able to explain this properly. The newest ads on there now is, if you haven't filed for your taxes in years and you make so much money a month, you can get it all wiped out now with the Fresh Start. That's not really true, is it?
No. So first of all, the Fresh Start program you're talking about has been around for many years.
See, they make it sound like it's new.
Yeah, I know. I've heard those ads, and it's not new. It's been around for years. And here's where the misleading part is. There actually are people who can have it totally wiped out, but you have to take a look at the facts and circumstances. So, for example, if you are representing a client that's 97 years old, is in frail health, has no assets and is living on the sofa of their kid, and you got that person off for essentially nothing, that doesn't mean that if you owe $50,000 and you have $300,000 cash in the bank, you can get the same result. And I've seen some of the firms, we won't mention names, of course, but I've seen some firms that will advertise some specific case. And that is really, it's misleading. It's like if you say, well, you know what? You can take this 6-week boxing course, and we have a guy that took the 6 weeks course and he's, champion now. The guy's Mike Tyson. Well, wait a minute. Most people aren't Mike Tyson. So
Right.
The bottom line is I've seen those ads and they're very, very misleading. And again,
I knew it.
The fact that, again, it could be true. What Mike Tyson can do, a regular mortal can't do. And it's the same way if you take some very unusual circumstance, it has a great result. Well, yes, for that person, but that wouldn't be the case. Just like looking at the athletic ability of a professional athlete, that's just different than the high school team or somebody that says, let's go out and play some basketball in the backyard.
Stephen, what is a hardship deferral?
Hardship deferral.
Exactly what it sounds like?
Deferral. What that's all about is, suppose you have this situation. Suppose you have a gentleman who owes some tax. He just lost his job, or a business owner, and he just lost a major client. You go to the IRS and you say, look, things are going badly for me now. You just lost your job, or you lost a major client, or the kid got sick and I have a bunch of doctor bills, or the spouse got sick, or something happened. Then you basically say, look, give me some time. Just leave me alone for a while. Let me get back on my feet. Let me get my new job. And then we'll work something else. It's called a hardship deferral. We do them all the time.
How long do they usually give them to get back on their feet?
So once again, it depends. And the agents have a lot of discretion. And a lot of times the agent will give you a relatively short period of time and you check in with them again. So suppose you say, okay, look, my client just lost his job last week. He's looking for a new job. And what if the agent says, okay, check back with me in 2 months. So 2 months, you check back, you say, look, my guy's been out looking for a job. He hasn't gotten anything. And the agent probably says, okay, check back with me in some other time period, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So you can have a situation where sometimes it takes somebody a couple of years to get a job. So you don't start off with a hardship deferral like that. On the other hand, you may have somebody that, let's go back to that 97-year-old that's in ill health. They probably give you a hardship deferral forever because, let's face it, the job prospects of a 97-year-old in ill health aren't very good.
Yeah. I got to tell you something, Stephen. I think one of the great things about your practice is when somebody comes in, first of all, they have a big load on their shoulder. But when somebody comes in and meets with you, I am telling you, because of your demeanor, your background, your education, I'm telling you, they are going to feel so much more at ease after talking to you. You just have this knack of knowing how to be very laid back, not emotional, and just get right down to the story.
Steve-O, thank you. And that's so needed because, first of all, like I tell clients, I'm a simple guy. That's why I tell people, I'm a former cab driver. I'm not some fancy guy that doesn't, I won't say, well, let them eat cake. I understand what it's like. I've had times in my life when I don't have money for food either. I understand that happens. So I'm practical. And again, we're not dealing with axe murderers. We're dealing basically with good people that can't pay your taxes. And it's like when people come in and they say, Mr. or Sir, just call me Steve. I'm a simple guy. I like to talk to people. And the minute you stand up on the pedestal, it's a barrier for communications. I just talk with people and we go from there. And that's basically my personality. I am a calm person. And that's what you want. Just like if you have a gunshot wound to the chest, you don't want the doctor getting hysterical and saying, oh my God, there's blood all over. You want the doctor to start giving orders and getting that bullet out and giving you some, appropriate medical treatment.
You just seem to answer so many questions. I wish those two people would have reached out to you a lot sooner because it might have saved two
Well, all of
lives.
them, the ones that are just so striking, the two suicides and the guy that gave his kid up for adoption. All three of those cases were easily fixable. Now, again, I would never advocate a suicide or giving up a kid for adoption, because of this reason. But it's even more tragic when it's like, my God, the solution was so simple. It's like if a doctor said, you know what, if you had just taken an aspirin every day, you never would have had that heart attack. When the solution is so simple, somehow it's just extra painful. And then also that put a tremendous burden on the surviving spouses and the kids. And it didn't have to be. That's one of the things is, there's so many good solutions and it didn't have to be.
And it is, just think about it, all the pressure that is on a person, not knowing what's going to happen to them, who's going to be knocking at their door, when all you have to do is call Stephen Moskowitz up, and let him take care of, let him talk to the IRS, where you don't have to talk to them anymore.
And, we've dedicated our professional careers to this. So all of us really should know a lot more than the average person. We've literally dedicated our entire professional lives to this. And this is what we do for a living. And one of the things I say is, think of tax work like a boxing ring, and there's a heavyweight boxer in the ring. That's your opponent. Nobody but another heavyweight boxer better get in that ring. And the tough guy from the bar better not get in the ring either, because he'll get his head knocked off. So the bottom line is, I'd like to think we're all personable. We listen to you, and then we go ahead and give you your life back. And I have just, a lot of times, as you know, I'm also on the television and radio here in San Francisco. And I've had some of my hosts or co-hosts in the office when they're visiting me as my clientele. And one of the things they talk about on air is difference in faces coming in and going out, the long faces coming in and the happy faces going out. It's just like a doctor's office. I mean, just think about it. Suppose you had these terrible chest pains and you said, oh my God, I'm dying. I have a heart attack. Oh, what if I need a quadruple bypass? And you're talking about all this stuff. And the doctor says, it's gas. Just don't eat so many burritos. Or here's a pill that'll relieve the gas. You won't have the pain anymore. Think of the burden off of you. And you say, I don't have to listen to that IRS anymore. So the bottom line is, think of it like that. It's just like you are really, really afraid, concerned about some medical problem. And the doctor says, no, just take this little pill, you'll be fine. Or what you thought of. And an awful lot of times, the anticipation is way worse than what actually happens. And the bottom line is, so many of these problems are fixable. And in fairness to everybody, the IRS has a lot of good programs to fix all kinds of problems, but almost all of them are based on the taxpayer going to the IRS before the IRS goes to the taxpayer. Because if you go to them first, they really want to work with you most of the time and have all these great programs. If they come after you, that's a different story. Then you're on the defense, and it's just it's actually painful when I see so much suffering that could be alleviated, just like a medical doctor would feel.
Well, Stephen, tell people how they can contact you at your office.
You call us toll free at 888-TAX-DEAL. That's 888-TAXDEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, or visit us online at moskowitzllp.com, MOSKOWITZLLP.com.
And, if you've got a friend or a relative in a different state that we're in today, you can still give Stephen a call at his office. Stephen, I can't thank you enough, and we'll see you soon.
Pleasure's mine. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Stephen. That's attorney Stephen Moskowitz, one of the finest tax attorneys you'll ever want to meet. And I promise you, he will help you with your problems. That's it for us today. We'll be back with you again next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.